Welcome back. As we continue our conversation, we were talking about Iran and some way of figuring out the way forward about Iran's nuclear program. I just want to know, is it good enough to have a strict verification protocol, for instance, the additional protocol under the NPT, or indeed, you know, to have shipping out of the LEU? Is that good enough, even if it's not perfect?
Well, this is a question we're not ready to answer because we don't know what the options in front of us are. We don't know what Iran would agree to. We don't know what kind of pressure could be brought to bear in case they don't agree. So, you know, our goal is, as it always has been, to try to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, which we think would be very destabilizing in the region and beyond, and that's what we're aimed at achieving through this engagement.
And what nuclear sites might they be prepared to be transparent about that have not been declared at this point?
I want to ask you about both one last question about Iran, and that relates to what the message is to the people of Iran who've been in the streets, who've opposed Ahmadinejad, who spoke out and in some cases have been arrested, wounded, or worse, standing up to what they see as a stolen election. Are you concerned that those in Iran who want real political change are going to be somehow forgotten or abandoned, or will not be the focus of American comment and action?
No, because I think we've been very clear in supporting the legitimate aspirations of the Iranian people and in speaking out forcefully against the irregularities of their electoral process.
Talk about 21st century diplomacy and how it's changed and what you're doing, because you both address this different terminology that's often used. In one particular area, information. I want to talk a little bit for a moment here. I mean, you call it strategic communication, you call it public diplomacy, but it's connecting with the rest of the world. It's learning back from what others are saying. It's influencing leaders and persuading publics and knocking down myths or propaganda, and maybe in some cases propagandizing ourselves. A lot of this is now done by the military. There's no one person in charge of this. How should this very important information battle be waged, and who should be in command?
Well, let me give you two quick examples.
State Department?
Yeah. You know, a battlefield conflict zone requires the military to respond to, you know, rumors, attacks. They have to have a strategic communications effort, but it must be part of a broader national public diplomacy outreach effort. I'll give you two quick examples. We were just talking about Iran. We learned that during the height of the demonstrations about the election, that Twitter was a major source of information for people who were protesting. And we thought that was a good vehicle, but we were told that Twitter just was going to have to shut down for 48 hours to do some upgrades to the software. So we called and said, please don't shut down, because this is a major communications loop for people on the streets. In Afghanistan, what we've learned since we got in there, and it's these great young civilians who work for me in the State Department, working with these great young military leaders, working in our forces, they realized that we didn't have a secure environment for cell phones to operate. So we began looking for places we could put up cell towers. We began looking for how we would incentivize businesses in Afghanistan to spread their cell phone coverage. Why? Because the Taliban and their allies use cell phones to intimidate people. We found out that they were running illegal FM stations literally off the back of motorcycles, and they were telling people, we're going to behead this person, we're going to do that. So we are competing in that space. And, you know, obviously we have to work together, but we have the lead on it because it needs to stand for more than just our military might. It needs to represent all of our national interests and values.
We all want an America defined by deep and meaningful equality, from civil rights to labor rights, from women's rights to gay rights, from ending From ending discrimination, there are no acceptable limits, and there are no acceptable prejudices in the 21st century in our country.
We have a common task and a common challenge.
Why can't we see that we are all in this together?
18 million of you from all walks of life. Women and men, young and old, Latino and Asian, African American and Caucasian, rich, poor and middle class, gay and straight, you have stood with me. And I will continue to stand strong with you every time, every place, and every way that I can. The dreams we share are worth fighting for.